Welcome to the Strategic Project Leader, where we help you leverage strategic project management so you can achieve your goals. Now, here's your host, Fola Alabi.
Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Strategic Project Leader. I am your host, Fola Alabi, a keynote speaker, a consultant, and educator, your business and transformational leadership and strategic project management expert. I help forward-thinking organizations, professionals, and entrepreneurs leverage an entrepreneurial and strategic focus to project management to drive return on investments, to ensure that you go further, faster in business and beyond, deliver projects right, and gain the competitive advantage that you need. We are coming at you live from the Strategic Project Leader Studio, live in Calgary, Alberta today. Today's show is brought to you by the Strategic Project Leader, your one-stop shop on everything project management to help you deliver better projects at home and at work. Today's show is going to be great. It's like one like no other. I cannot wait to talk to you about it this morning. Welcome, Jay. My producer is actually here with me today. Jay is also a consultant. He's a leader and an expert when it comes to operations and projects as well. Jay, how are you doing this morning?
I'm very good, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing awesome today. Today's a wonderful show because we have a very special guest who's joining us all the way from New York. And do you know who that is, Jay?
Oh, tell me, my friend. Tell me.
Oh, my goodness. Now, I just have to hold the suspense for a moment. I want to just give you a little bit about this particular leader.
That's not fair.
No. He is the president and CEO of the Project Management Institute. I'm talking about a leader who has led global organizations and helped them go from like little profits, like so much more. He's leading the change when it comes to project management globally. Oh my goodness. Do you still want to know who this person is, Jay?
I'm waiting.
I think I will still make you wait for a little bit longer. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this particular leader. Okay. When it comes to projects, he's led other companies before. As I said, he's actually got a mixed background. So we're going to be talking about some culture, pieces as well, and how we can move up the corporate ladder. Should I just let his name out again? Do you think we should get into it? Yes, today we have Pierre Le Manh. He is a great leader. And it's just with so much joy, I cannot wait to bring him on stage. Can we just welcome Pierre with us this morning?
Pierre,
Hi, Pierre, how are you?
How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome today. Great to have you with us. What's it like in New York this morning?
Actually, it's getting colder. I think the vortex is coming back, but we have nice weather. That's the good side of it.
Fantastic. I know that's definitely awesome. We're so happy to have you with us this morning on the show. We're going to be diving deep into it. I know the time is precious. So we just want to first of all say thank you for being here. And for those actually watching us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, make sure that you actually let us know where you're actually joining us from. I can see people actually joining us from France, from Europe, people from Calgary, and let us know in the comments the questions you have, because Pierre is going to be sharing his heart with us, and you do not want to miss this. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel as well while we get into it. So Pierre, my first question is, what brought you to the world of project management?
Wow. So the world of project management, I started very early on in my career. I started at Accenture after a short stint with the French government. At the time, I was working for the French government in Canada, actually. But then I moved back to France and I worked at Accenture. So that's how I started to run projects in the first place. Then I did other things. And many years later, I got called to run PMI. And that's how I came back to project management, at least directly. Of course, in many of the roles that I've had in my life, in many of the companies I've managed, I've had to oversee projects more as a sponsor, sometimes a few times managing them myself directly. But I would say I've never really left the sphere of project management in my entire career.
That's right, because when we think about projects, right, projects are the engines of progress. They pretty much turn ideas into reality. And you being the CEO of the great organization and you being a sponsor of so many projects, we have a lot of project managers and business leaders on the stream today. We want to know, what exactly does a sponsor really want from a project? Because Project managers know that they've got a task to deliver on a particular objective. But from a business perspective, what are the key things or the key drivers that you feel that from a sponsor's perspective, what do you really want to see from us as PMs?
I think if you're a CEO, you're very much focused on organization transformation. Most of what you have to do is not exactly running the company as it is, but mostly transforming it to become what you want it to be, or what there is an aspiration for your company to be. So indeed, a lot of projects are on top of your priorities. In fact, most CEOs, if you listen to them, speak mostly about projects. When they talk about their own companies, they speak about where the company should go, how they should achieve their goals, their mission, their vision. A lot of that is about transformation. So when you're a CEO, what you're expecting from project managers is actually getting things done. It's not very complicated. And when people say projects are about getting things done, they're very right about that.
That's right. Projects are about getting things done. This particular show, we want to definitely prep our project managers on a path to move up that corporate ladder. Project managers go in, they get their PMPs, they get their agile designations, and they wonder what next. You have been able to start off in Accenture, you created that path, and you were able to chart the path to that number one position. What would you say are the top strategies that project professionals need to leverage today to chart the path to get to the top?
I think we have to be very careful not to imply that the path to leadership is limited to the path to become a CEO. There is only one CEO in a company, but everyone can be a leader. And in reality, before deciding that you want to be a CEO, you have to really think hard about that. Sometimes people become a CEO without even ever thinking about it or even wanting it. It just happens because, they follow a certain path, and then almost out of nowhere, the opportunities happen, and you just take them. But I would say it would be a very wrong thing to do, to imply that the only path to success or to leadership is to be a CEO. That would generate a lot of frustration. And frankly, I don't believe this 1 second. There are many, many ways to be a leader. And in the companies I've led, I've seen so many leaders who, might never become a CEO, but they're very effective at what they're doing, very good at what they're doing, and very fulfilled. I think project management actually offers many opportunities to lead, if you think about it. If you define leadership as the ability to influence, to inspire, to drive action and change, a lot of that is exactly what project managers are doing. So by doing project management, you are, in fact, in the position of leadership, or you are given the ability to lead. Now, of course, if you're active in a broader community and not just focused on your job, and that's exactly what PMI does. We offer, beyond learning, the opportunities to connect with others, to play a meaningful role, to give back some of your time, to give back some of your knowledge. If you do this on top of your job, then of course you will learn things that are very useful in the case you want to move up the corporate ladder or be fulfilled in any other way.
That's right. You brought up some key points, because when it comes to the world of project management, you're definitely leading. However, the challenge we find is a lot of PMs are leading without authority, where you have to really influence and you have to make decisions. However, you need to ensure that you can coalesce your team to get work done. And there are key skills that you definitely need to hone, because when it comes to influencing, supporting your team, as well as ensuring that your role brings strategic value, is absolutely key. Yes, moving up to get the number one position may not be for everyone, but people still want to scale your career, maybe become a PMO manager or PMO director. What would you say are the top skill sets that a PM needs to hone to at least become promotable?
It's interesting, because the way you just described the project manager, I would almost say is the best way to describe a CEO. It's not because you're in the position of authority that everybody's going to do what you want. It doesn't work that way. First of all, it's not just about your employees. It's also multiple stakeholders, arguably even more stakeholders than employees that you have to convince. And second, even your own employees are not going to react just because you give them orders. It doesn't work that way.
That's
and
right.
in fact, learning how to influence and how to drive change and behaviors by convincing people, not just by giving them orders, is an absolutely essential skill of any CEO. So by doing that well, you are actually doing something that is very close to the experience and the day-to-day life of a CEO. The ability to influence others is the whole thing, right? It is this ability through your words sometimes, but also a lot through your action, through your behavior, to influence how others will act and think. That is the definition of leadership, and that's what CEO do, and that's what project managers who are effective are also doing, frankly.
That's right. That's bullseye there, Pierre. You know what I mean? It's like definitely project managers are definitely CEOs driving their projects. They come in, they give you an idea and they run with it. They build a team, and then they turn an idea and they create like buildings. It could be transformation, whatever that is. They are like CEOs driving that. And so you just made my day. You just confirmed that as well. That's fantastic. Without a doubt, we know that project management is becoming like the hot topic globally. When it comes to the need for project managers, it's one that I believe that we even need to start ramping up to see how can we get more of these people. But there is one piece that differentiates project managers from project leaders. They're the ones who are set and achieving strategic goals and objectives. It goes beyond just taking a piece of a project and just delivering that. But we also need to start thinking about what exactly is the strategic direction of the organization, as you said, Pierre. CEOs and the C-suite wants transformation. How are you ensuring that your projects are tying and driving that? With the global project economy becoming pretty tighter now with the internet and everything, how can we be positioned as project professionals to fuel the global economy?
I think there are many different questions or doors that you open through your question. I'd like to come back to your first point about project management and project leadership being two different things. And I do understand what you're trying to say when you say that, and the kind of awareness you're trying to raise about what project managers should do if they want to be effective. But in my opinion, implying that project management is just about execution, that is schedule, budget, scope, and project leadership is more broadly about the ability to influence, lead others, understand strategy, fulfill strategic needs of your organization, is in a way useful because you're helping people understand what is expected. But in fact, project managers have to be exactly what you describe when you describe project leadership. There's no effective project management if you don't go beyond pure execution, if you don't get into this level of influence of others being inspired by your behavior, by your direction. If you can't get alignment with strategic objectives of the organizations that employ you or that hire you, then you won't be a great project manager, right? So every single project manager has to think about becoming a project leader. Now, there are a few things that I believe you can do also to improve, because leadership is something you can learn. In reality, everybody says that leadership, you're not a born leader. That doesn't exist. I don't know if it's totally true. Some people have more talent than others for doing certain things, but for sure, most of what you do when you practice, most of what you learn when you study is going to help you develop and be better. So you got to spend the time doing a number of things. You need to learn, for sure. You need to take certifications, because this is the way you'll be recognized in the profession. It will give you self-confidence. It will sanction a certain path of learning and practice, but you also need to diversify your experiences. And that, I think, to go back to the question you were asking me, and I didn't dodge it, but I was answering a little bit differently in the first place. But I want to come back to that. Sometimes project managers feel a little bit frustrated because they feel I have no chance to access any time in my career a position of leadership. That's not true, again, because they are leaders in what they're doing. But what they mean by that, we understand. It's C-suite CEO roles, right? Move up the ladder, the career ladder. The one thing that you need to do that for sure is to diversify your experiences. It's very difficult to be ready to lead an organization if you don't have some understanding of diverse context situations. And that you will only gain if you are not fearful of change, of doing different things. Growth and comfort don't go very well together. So you have to be courageous enough sometimes to leave behind some things that you're very good at doing, an organization that you know very well, a job that you're very good at, so that you put yourself in a situation of discomfort, and that in itself is going to teach you so much about yourself and make you much better. And I'm talking about changing countries, changing markets, changing industry, changing companies, changing environment. All of that would be useful. I'm not saying you have to do all of that, of course not. But every time you get out of your comfort zone and do something really different, you're learning something that's going to make you better and more self-confident, and it will take you closer to the kind of career objectives that you may have if this is what you want to do. But again, no pressure. If you're very happy doing what you're doing, you're fulfilled, you're great. Why do you want to move up the ladder? Maybe this is great for you. This is the right thing for you to do, and you should be proud of it as well.
Definitely, especially with the new year, everyone has to go back and reflect and say, what exactly do I really want to achieve when it comes to my career? You have a career goal. Is it to, be better exactly where you are? Do you want to learn something new? Do you want to move up the corporate ladder? Whatever that is, the key is to start by figuring out what exactly you want to do. And when you're clear about that, you can then create a plan to help you achieve that particular path. I want to change gears a little bit because I know that you've actually demonstrated someone who's definitely stepped out of his comfort zone. You've moved countries, you've been able to master what I call cultural intelligence. When it comes to working for different organizations, when it comes to, moving across different continents, how have you been able to influence when it comes to different cultures, Pierre?
So, though, Fola, I have to admit, I don't really have a recipe for that, other than being very curious, observing. I was lucky in a way. I was born in a bicultural environment. My father was a Vietnamese immigrant in France. My mom is French, from the center of France. Can't be more French. And so
I love that. You can't be more French. Yes.
Yeah. My entire childhood had to sort of be the translator between my parents. They're still together, happily married, at least as far as I can see. They're 88 and 85, so probably they found a way to live together.
Definitely.
My entire childhood, I had to speak two different languages, not in the sense of languages like Vietnamese or French, but more speaking two different ways of thinking, two different approaches of life, two different conceptions of life and the world in general. So that helped me. I didn't realize that when I was a child, of course, but then, when I started to work more internationally, and I'm also lucky to have grown up in Europe, where by definition, Europe is a more multicultural environment because you have to deal with, with French, with Germans, with British people, with Italians, with Spanish people, people from Eastern Europe. And for all that is being said about Europe being Europe, Europe is in fact a hodgepodge, a melting pot. It's very different. And plus we have a lot of immigration there. So when I moved to the US, and also having worked for American companies before, it helped me. But still, I made some mistakes, and I still do. Sometimes I come across as very French to Americans. Sometimes I come across as very American to French people. And when they say that, they mean it in a way that is not always very nice, even if they say it with a smile. So you got to find your own way, your own style, live by it. Don't be too much influenced by what is politically correct or what you think people are expecting from you, but be respectful of other cultures, other ways of thinking. Make your mistakes, try to make up for them, and to not make mistakes that are so big that you can't recover from them.
I know that's the key there, because we're really, really similar, because I've got West African roots as well. And I moved to England. I lived there for over a decade before moving to North America as well. And I go back and forth. And I talk and I mentor a lot of migrants. where they move over to Canada, for instance, and they're like, how do I start? What do I really do? And you've hit a lot of key points where it's all about having that learning mindset, being open. But I want to say that there's really a lot of mistakes that people have already made. You don't need to make those mistakes yourself. You can get mentors, you can get support and say, how exactly can I just get a softer landing, rather than saying that I really know nothing and I'm just okay to do that. And so supporting the migrant community and helping them is a passion that I have as well. Is there any, does PMI have that support as well when it comes to migrants and supporting them when it comes to career advancement?
Yeah, so PMI is an interesting organization because on one side, we're originally from the US. We were founded in Philadelphia in 1969, and we grew initially in the US, but very quickly we started expanding our reach outside of the US through our local chapters, our members, our volunteers. We're a very decentralized organization where, by the way, command and control, which, by the way, I don't believe in anywhere, but it typically doesn't work at PMI because, of course, we have hundreds of employees, full-time employees, but we have hundreds of thousands of members and volunteers and people who are actually making the day-to-day of PMI by the time they spend, their thought leadership, all the things they're doing for us and with us and for the profession. So we are by nature a very global organization, and for us, speaking globally is almost natural. And we have a lot of people in our central teams. Of course, many people in our chapters are not American by definition, but also in our central teams, and increasingly so. We are a very diverse workforce. We can still do better, of course. We've launched this plan to have more teams in our different regions, so outside of the US, and we're growing our workforce in those different regions. So increasingly, we're becoming more and more global. And I'm one of the examples of, I consider myself as a fairly international, if not fully global citizen.
That's right.
Continents, so I'm trying to promote that, but without ever making people feel bad about their roots. One of the things you were saying before is learning, being curious, trying to avoid making mistakes by being mentored, and all of that I fully agree with. And you got to embrace the culture of the country where you live in and learn the history, learn the culture, make your own efforts. But you should never be ashamed of your roots. We don't control our roots. And in any country, in any culture, there is something good. Even in countries where terrible things have happened, there are good things. And we should always be very, very proud of our roots. And I always tell, for instance, our American workforce at PMI, don't be ashamed of being American. Yes, we need to be more global and sometimes feel that PMI is too American to this day, but there are great things to say about the US as well, and there's no shame, nothing to be negative about or ashamed of. Being American, being French, being from Africa, being from Asia, Chinese or Vietnamese, or from wherever you are. And it is only by leveraging our differences, not trying to eradicate differences to have just one model, by leveraging all these differences, that we will be as an organization much stronger, just like the world is going to be stronger if we can do that.
100%. I know we're planning like the International Women's Day. We're talking about equality and equity as well. I see diversity as a beauty. It's like you have like different flavors. It's like having a salad, right? You have different colors in there. It makes your body even more nutritious. So we embracing diversity, and we're just going back to our roots and ensuring that we have different perspectives, in front of us. Organizations that do well, it's one that's made up of people who have got different ideas, different perspectives, different strengths. And when they bring it all together, magic obviously happens. And so I love that message as well. And I hope it's one that we can encourage our leaders to definitely keep sharing so that we can pretty much embrace diversity and pretty much make the world a better place. So I know that's part of what you support. So let's, tap back into a question I asked before about the global economy. There is a push for a lot of project management professional. And now that with the internet, we have, roles in IT, for instance, in the US, people in India can actually plug into it. How can we really leverage this global space and become a force to be reckoned with? So where PMI, for instance, can be that force when it comes to project management and everything project management, but especially for the professionals who actually listen, and people are like, how can I leverage this space right now? How can I add value? How can I position myself to be the one, to be called upon when all of these positions and opportunities have set you up?
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about contributions to GDP of the project economy. We try to measure that at PMI. We did some research, and we found that the GDP contributions from project-oriented industries is worth about $20 trillion over the next 20 years, right? And that there is a big talent gap as the project economy is growing, expanding. We also established that there is a need for about 2.3 million additional professionals every year until 2030 to close that talent gap. So there's a huge demand, you're right. The opportunities are there. The opportunities stem from the digitalization of the economy, which is not fully done. I mean, it is something in progress over the last 20, 25 years, but there's still so much that can be done and will be done.
That's right.
If you think about it, in so many different industries, we're only seeing the beginning of it. We're still at the tipping point of this, long cycle of 100 years of revolution. That's the digital economy. We're still seeing the beginning of it, right? So the demand for digitizing the economy, the world, governments, the way people live together, interact together is still at its very beginning, and we'll see much more of that coming. And of course, there's this whole topic of sustainability, how the planet will survive.
That's right.
Our development model, which is now for people who are alive today. We have to address it now because it's going to be too late if we wait for 2 or 3 generations to address all of that. So all that is going to create a massive demand. It's actually beyond how much of that, how much of the global GDP is about projects. If you think about it, it's the whole survival of organization, the whole survival of the world that depends on transformation. No company will survive unless they digitalize, and the world is not going to survive unless we are more sustainable in the way we grow, right? So all of that will create a massive demand. The opportunities will be there. So it's not a question of finding opportunities, it's putting yourself in front of these opportunities. And again, my suggestion, and of course, you would say maybe that I'm not fully objective here, but the reason why I'm leading PMI is because I believe that what we provide beyond learning, connections, opportunities to give back, connections with other professionals, with people who work in other countries, in other industries, who have all this understanding of what is being done, how the world is being transformed. If you can access this network, then it will give you opportunities. I mean, of course, it will all depend on your own involvement. The more active you'll be, the more entrepreneurial you'll be.
That's right.
The more like Fola you will be.
Oh, goodness. That's right.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, you're connecting people. It's fantastic, and by doing that, you are contributing. None of us will be able to save the world alone, right? So let's not,
right.
If your goal is to be the one person who's going to save the world, you might be disappointed.
That's right.
But a meaningful contribution, that's already a lot. That's already enormous.
Thank you so much for that acknowledgement as well, because I always feel that it's about having that entrepreneurial focus of project management, which is exactly what I talk about. You have to see yourself like an entrepreneur, like their problems, be the solution to it. Opportunities are never going to just come and just fall on your laps. You need to go out there and say, what exactly are the problems? You have just created like multiple ideas that I hope everyone listening can actually tap into that and say, yes, I think I thought about that. I am an IT professional. I think I can do this. You need to probably start upskilling. You need to start networking. Project Management Institute gives loads and loads of opportunities to actually meet other like-minded professionals where you can actually leverage other people's skill sets and come together and make magic happen. That's definitely awesome. So let's change gears a little bit. When it comes to PMI and micro-credentials, a lot of people have been asking, right? We know that there's one that has been released when it comes to construction. Is there any chance that there may be some more niche areas that will be opening up in the next couple of weeks or years? Maybe when it comes to pharmaceuticals, would there be designations, especially talking about saving the world now? And are we going to have things around sustainability?
Yeah. So it's not the same next couple of weeks and next couple of years.
I'm just joking, but you know what I mean? Like, and we're like thinking about it. Is something we should be excited about now?
So yes, many of the things you've talked about and many of the things I talked about around digitalization, around sustainability, will mean that our offer in terms of trainings, right? Our thought leadership, our offer will evolve. However, I want to say that in the last 2 years, we've expanded our offer enormously. We've also expanded globally in the sense that we have created all those regions and employee-based in the regions, like I mentioned before. And it is really time for us to make sure we focus on operational excellence. So my message to the whole team for 2023 is, let's focus maybe a little bit more. Let's do a little bit less things, but let's make sure we are delivering the most excellent service in what we do. I really want to make sure that anything that PMI does is exceptionally good. So it cannot be everything. It's everything we do. It's not everything that can be done, right? So short term, I'm almost trying to reduce a little bit the number of products that we're launching, because I want us to be sure that what we do has the level of quality, of service, of value created for the profession that is expected from a brand like PMI, which is, by far the number one brand in terms of professional skills, professional knowledge, professional advocacy in our world.
I know that's really excellent, because I see organizations and companies trying to do so much and they end up being not even good at anything. So being able to focus on what we're really good at and then ensure that we deliver excellently and make sure we're known for that, I think that's definitely awesome. And I hope everyone has had that message. Even when we go back to our day-to-day, roles as well, focus on being the best. Focus on being the one that, when they think about product delivery excellence in your business, they're going to think about, yes, it has to be Mark, it has to be Danielle, it has to be Lee. And that's the number one key that definitely sets you up for success as well. I want to, talk about education. I know we spoke about professional development. For people who haven't really got formal education, what exactly is your take on how they could still leverage this good ideas? What part can they really take? And do you think that formal education is really important to be successful?
I am a big proponent of formal education when you're lucky enough to have access to formal education. Not everybody does on this planet, but in many countries it is possible. It's difficult sometimes because expensive, but for many people there is some access to formal education. So if you have a chance, if you can afford it, if this is possible, try to have formal education. I'm talking to young people here, if any are listening to us. When we were founded in 1969, we were founded because there was a gap. There was no formal education in project management. In fact, a number of people, including Jim Snyder and who's still with us, and 4 other founding parents of PMI, decided to create this network where practitioners could exchange best practices, ideas, thought leadership. But they did this very quickly in the context of Georgia Tech, which is one of the largest universities in the US, one of the most reputable universities in the US. So Georgia Tech helped us, and we had these roots with the academia. But then, of course, we focused a lot on professional development, lifelong learning. But we also kept strong links with the academia. And I do believe that the academia has a great role to play, even in the science of project management. And by science of project management, understand me, I'm not talking just about methodologies. It's beyond that. It's how you lead projects as well, how you actually get things done. So these relationships with the academia is important to us. We have accredited a number, I think about 170 programs so far, usually master's degrees in project management or in areas that are close to project management. And we want to do more of that. So I'm very favorable. I'm a big proponent of formal education. But we all know that formal education after a number of years is not enough. And it's not just about what you learn at school, but also what you learn on the job and how you develop as a person. And that's the thing that lifelong learning brings to you. This ability to constantly learn more, this ability to constantly re-challenge what you've learned before, and also understand that the world is changing. Technologies are changing, objectives are changing, ways to manage are changing, society is changing, public opinion is changing. So you need to refresh yourself all the time. And that kind of attitude is essential, by the way, if you want to move up the ladder. And by this, I don't mean only taking courses. It's not just that, right? It's learning from others. It's reading a lot. It is networking. It is doing all the things that help you learn, because you're constantly opening your mind to new ideas, to new ways of thinking, to others.
And you just hit the nail on the head. There is a mindset and a shift that leaders need to definitely embrace, where they realize that I really don't know it all. And having a mindset where there's definitely something else I can learn from Pierre, there's something else I can learn from that other leader. And my ideas are just not, the best, and you're not just final. That creates a shift, because even when you see that meetings, that way you're more open to say, what has this person got to say? What other perspective can I take in? How can we even be better? And I want everyone to be challenged by that, to say, it's a new year, 2023. As you go to your daily activities, ensure that you're more open-minded, pick up a book, listen to a podcast, go to another PMI meeting and see, what else can I actually learn? What can I even unlearn as well? Because that's another piece, I always talk about, because there are things that you may have learned over the years, you probably need to even drop because they're obviously not working. So you probably think about, what can I also unlearn so that I could set a better path to not just be great for myself, but also be great within the community that I actually serve and support. So that's definitely awesome. The key I really want to say, you've taught this over and over, for project managers to really be successful, they have to be leaders, period. So becoming a strategic project leader is a must. It is a mindset you have to embrace. It's the learning, the professional development. It's everything together for you to be successful. You're more or less an ambassador for what you definitely support and what you do. We spoke about showing up, but what are the things, what skill sets you think will be great for us to embrace? I know people talk about emotional intelligence. We talk about learning mindset. Is there anything else that you think is a key skill that we want to hear from you that we should be thinking about to add to our toolkit?
I think what I've seen with many CEOs and C-suite executives who are really doing well is that they always expand their intellectual curiosity way beyond the area that they're involved in directly. It's not just about reading more books about project management. It is also understanding the world in general and being curious about what's happening in all areas, right? This intellectual curiosity is going to help you a lot, because you will almost think laterally more easily. You will see patterns, things in very different areas that can be reapplied. It is where the intellectual brain and mind is so beautiful and still surpasses ChatGPT, very honestly. Maybe not forever.
The new AI bot that's trying to transform everything.
But this ability we have to transfer an observation in one area to something totally different is unique to the human brain, and it's beautiful. And the more you practice that, the more you give yourself the opportunity to do that, because you're intellectually curious, the more successful you'll be. Maybe not the more happy, by the way. Sometimes it's very depressing to see so much.
No, Pierre, we want to be happy as well. No, we have to add that in. We don't want to just make all the
discipline. Happiness is a discipline. This is a decision you need to make.
I know, I love that, because we're going to get to project lifestyle soon, because my goal is to ensure that I build strategic project leaders who thrive at home and at work. We go up the corporate ladder, we're great, as well as we live a happier life, because so much is happening within the community today, as we can actually see people really not really happy. But I think project management has got the skill sets we need as well to create that life. And that's the secret sauce. We're going to get that soon. We have a lot of questions coming in. I know we spoke about intellectual curiosity and all the other stuff, but is there what would you say as the overall top strategy that we need to, just as a key takeaway, what would be the top 3 things we should remember from today's podcast?
Oh, you're challenging me a lot, Fola,
No, people kind of want to know.
Number one, project management and project leadership are a construct.
Okay.
If you want to be successful as a project manager, you have to be able to develop your leadership qualities, number one.
Okay.
Number two, if you want to move up the ladder, and again, think about that. One of my sons tells me all the time, I want to be an IC, as he says. He means individual contributor, because I like this better. I like doing stuff myself, and I want to become an expert. I can work with others, but I don't want people to report into me, and that's fine. I actually encourage him to think that way if this is what makes him happy. So it is okay if you are not going to move up the ladder, but if this is what you want, remember that growth and comfort don't go well together, and that the more you multiply opportunities to get out of your comfort zone, do stuff that you're not used to do stuff that scares you maybe a little bit, without being suicidal, of course. You have to understand what you can take and what you cannot take, and with over time, you understand your limits. But getting out of your comfort zone is really good. And initially it's hard, but then you learn so much, and that's going to help you a ton. Developing the self-confidence, developing the gravitas, and also the judgment, the quality of judgment that is useful when you move up the ladder and get to more responsibilities. And then finally, again, we just mentioned that, but I believe that intellectual curiosity is essential. So lifelong learning is part of that. Joining us, PMI, meeting with people, giving back, taking certifications, courses is one thing. It's also beyond that. It's being curious about everything, including outside your area, your professional world, your usual areas of interest. Anything you can learn that is different is going to stimulate your brain and make you even better. At least this is what I'm doing.
That just means it's time for Project Lifestyle. It's been a great show. I just want to talk about how can we take all of this great stuff and create even a better life. Project management, as we've just heard from Pierre, it's about projects, about leadership. How can we lead at home and how can we lead at work? We've spoken about stepping out of your comfort zone. I want to challenge you today. You've listened to everything we've spoken about. How are you setting your goals up to ensure that you create the life you truly crave? From planning, from development, how are you, improving your communication skills when it gets to your kids, when it comes to your partners at home? How are you communicating? How are you intentional about being more curious to expand the way you actually do things? I want to challenge you today. I want you to take steps proactively to ensure that the life you crave is truly possible, because I always tell you, you are the best project you can actually ever walk on. Take steps today, create a plan. Make sure that you are taking steps every day to ensure that you're working towards every single thing that seems to be like a weakness, things that you're not really good at. I talk about SWOT analysis, which is what we do at work, but do that in your personal life. How does that affect you as well at home? What are the things that you think you need to improve on that could make you better? Take steps today and be intentional, because you definitely can make and create the life you crave. It's definitely possible. Oh my goodness, Pierre, we have even gone and overshot the show today. It's definitely been so awesome to have you. We definitely need to have you back. People have got so much more questions, but I just want to leave with one main thing. You said the word transformation. What kind of transformation do you want from each and everyone listening to you today, and everyone within the project management space to take on as a mantra going forward?
I did mention the need that the world has to digitalize and to become more sustainable.
Yeah.
Those two areas are where the action would be in the next 20, 30, 40 years. So we can't all be doing this only, but some of that in what we're doing, focusing on how we can accelerate the digitalization of the world, because it has the potential to reduce inequalities. It's not a given, but it has the potential to do that. And how to, of course, make sure we live in a sustainable world is something that we all need to spend some time on and contribute to that transformation. We won't do this alone. So focusing on building relationships, networks, knowing people is going to be very useful to you. It's going to be very useful to humanity in general. that's what the digitalization of the world is also bringing to us. This ability to connect more easily with more people, not just people who agree with you on everything, right? That's not what we want. But this ability to connect and work together on transforming the world so that it becomes more sustainable, not necessarily better. It's difficult to be better, but at least more sustainable. That's, I think, my message to all of you. And I see many people from all over the world listening to this podcast, many people coming from countries where we have a lot of young people. This is the future, the energy, from Africa, from Asia, even from here in the US. And also sometimes in Europe, we're underestimating the ability of Europe to play a big role in this future transformation. So please be part of that and help us create a better future.
That's right. That's the message. Help us create a better future. I'm so glad that I was definitely part of this conversation and you definitely graced the stage with us. Pierre Le Manh, we want to say thank you so much for being here this morning. We want to thank you for the work you're doing at the Project Management Institute. We want to thank you for the support. And you've actually just shown an example that you can actually lead and support. You can be there at the forefront. Even with the very short notice, you said, yes, I'm going to be on the show. I'm going to come and share. I'm going to be a leader, not in words, but in action as well. So I want to say a big thank you for being here this morning. And really, we cannot just wait to keep supporting you. We want to know, how can people connect with you? Because a lot of people that are on here, they want to know, they want to support the work we do at PMI. How can they reach you and how can they really support you?
Well, if you become a member of PMI, then it's easy to reach out to me. I'm another member and I'm easy to reach on our platforms. You can also, follow me on LinkedIn and post and contact me directly. I can't always answer to everyone, but as much as I can, I do it. I'm always happy to interact with all of you. I am not a very formal person. I'm not hierarchical by any means. It's just a matter of time. So don't get upset, by the way, if I never accepted your your invitation on LinkedIn. It's just because I have a big backlog. But write me a message directly, and then I would see it and I would accept it.
Definitely, I know. Pierre has demonstrated that. I want to say thank you so much.
That's how you contacted me, Fola, in the first place, right?
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. We talk about like networking and just like doing this. I saw the work you were doing, and you definitely show that indeed you support expanding and supporting the project management space. I want to say thank you for that. For everyone who's actually joined us today, make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you let us know where you actually joined from. Pierre's actually going to be going through all of this as well. He's going to be responding. So there's a chance to definitely get into his space. I want to say thank you all. If you definitely found any value from today's conversation, do not keep it to yourself. Tell a friend, tell a colleague, let us know one key takeaway that you are going to be taking action with today, that you'll be applying in your career, in your business, or in your life, for a chance to be featured on one of our episodes as well. If you have any questions or you want to learn more about the strategic project leader, from training, mentorship, professional keynotes or workshops, let us continue the conversation on strategicprojectleader.com. I want to say thank you so much for listening. It doesn't matter where you actually connect from, Europe, from Asia, everywhere else, let us know. But one key thing I want you to remember, that you are your life's project manager, and you are the most important project you can ever work on. Take action today and execute, because the life you crave is just one project away. So set your reminders for next week for another great show where we're going to be having another awesome guest. Same time next week on the Strategic Project Leader podcast, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much for being here. And I just want to bring up Jay. I want to say thank you, Jay, as well, for putting all of this together, for running all the back end. I want to say thank you. And I cannot wait to see you all next one. Jay, do you have any final words before we go? I know he's my great producer. Anything you want to share?
No, this was wonderful. Thank you for having me. And thank you, Pierre, for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. See you guys all on the other side next week. Bye-bye.